Welcome to Deep Thought. Cities have different energies. And in fact, I would even say neighborhoods, everything. Like wherever you get a group of people, there are different energies. Now, last week I talked about the energy that people have, the individual spirit and energy. But when you gather a group of people together, you get a certain energy in the area. Now, I thought about this. I mentioned on some of my other channels, I filmed a segment for a documentary with Mr. Lucario and Miles Cunningham, right? And it was down in D.C. Now, even though I'm from D.C., I hadn't been like really throughout the city in a while. If I come down, man, I might be on the outskirts or like close to the state line and everything, but I haven't gone through like a lot of neighborhoods that I might have gone through when I was younger. And after we filmed the documentary, I took the scenic route home. I just wanted to check out some places. So it took me a while to get home, especially I was leaving during rush hour traffic. Because it's funny, and I don't know which channel put this on, but, a lot of people who actually work in D.C. don't live in D.C., right? But I was looking at the energy because gentrification is, like, big in D.C. There's buildings up that weren't up last time I was there. Like, the last time I was there, there's buildings up, people up, and everything. It's bringing a different energy. Like, as I was driving through some poor neighborhoods and stuff, some formerly poor neighborhoods, they're not poor neighborhoods. These are like high-priced neighborhoods. Got a different type of people with their dog parks and everything, right? And yoga studios and stuff, right? And I say, the energy is totally different. See, here's how it works. Here's why different cities have different energy. Because every city has something that it focuses on, right? Has something. Like in the D.C. area, that's the seat of government. There's a lot of intellectual energy in the air in the D.C. area. It's never really had any real manufacturing base or anything there. So, it's more of an intellectual thing. You got attorneys, politicians, of course, attorneys, knowledge workers, I would say. They make their money with their minds. Right, so that's what's in the area. Of course, you got the people who service those folks. Somebody got to work in the restaurants and clean up and everything. But the mixture of the two brings the DC its unique atmosphere, its energy. But that's the same thing with every city. Now, I live outside of Baltimore now, but that was more of a blue collar town, so the energy is slightly different, right? Because there's more of a blue collar energy. And then, of course, the class thing, level of money, how people behave, that creates a certain energy wherever you go. And it could even affects people's overall behavior because, the thing with everybody being energy, your energy isn't really self-contained. It's really interacting with everybody around them. Like, here's an experiment. If you take any poor neighborhood, right? You can take some of the worst poor neighborhood, right? And where there's a lot of dysfunctional energy, like extremely dysfunctional, like just some crazy stuff, right? And then you plant maybe people of a higher caliber energy in there, like have them moving maybe a few houses or something, right? You plant them in there and, they'll probably catch some hell from the natives at first. But then as their energy changes, one, their energy will gradually change those around them. Two, it'll attract more people of a similar energy. And that's actually a dynamic with gentrification anyway. So it will attract it, and eventually, just on an energetic basis, people going to start leaving. I'll give you an example. You take some of the, and this has actually happened. Y'all can look. You put some people making some money or something of a higher caliber in a neighborhood. Like I say, they'll catch some hell, but if they just like, look, we're going to stay, especially with a police presence, right? At some point, the people who are already there or people who are going to be around that, they got to raise their energy just to deal with them. Because all of a sudden, you start getting different things around. You start getting different things you can do. You start getting different stores, Different type of food, because people will be like, nah, we ain't eating that crappy food that was usually sold here. All of a sudden you got a better food market that move in or something like that, and it'll gradually change it. All of a sudden you come back to that place in 10 years, it's a totally different place. So, that's on a micro level, but you spread that to cities, right? You spread that to cities, and then that's what you'll get. And it's a different thing. Like anybody who's traveled to several different cities in this country could tell you, it's a different rhythm here. It's a different look. I mean, it's deep to that point, because when I was driving through DC, I was like, there's a lot of women with fat booties here. It's like, and I know it seems small, but that's how deep it can get. Or the people look a certain way, right? I remember a woman who was making a remark about, she lives in Baltimore, but she was familiar with men in D.C. And she said, yeah, the men there are more suave, because it's a different energy. It's a different energy, and that's how powerful it is. But energy can be changed. In fact, if you want, like I say, if you got any place, if you want to clean up like a neighborhood or something, I know people will come through and they'll say, oh, well, let's have a rec center, let's do all that. No. Just give some high incentive for somebody to move into that neighborhood and make sure they feel safe, and it'll change. I mean, that's actually what has happened with the gentrification thing. You have higher upper class folks who will move into some place. They'll get a home that might be dilapidated because the people living there couldn't afford to keep it up. They'll fix it up. Boom. All of a sudden, that home they got for a little bit of money is worth a lot. They raise the housing prices, then it brings in other people who can afford the prices. Boom. It's the plan, but it's the energetic thing. Now, there's some other stuff going on politically and whatever, and that's another conversation. But you spread that out to the city, as I said, and all of a sudden it's like boom. And I've actually done that because just in my travels, I've traveled to big cities, but traveled through smaller cities as well. And I always take note of the energy wherever I go. Like I remember when I went to New Orleans. That was the first time I'm in the United States. I actually felt like I left the country because the energy was so different. Or at times like I've traveled to the South. The energy was so different. The same food I could eat in the North, I couldn't eat in the South. The same food I would eat in the North tasted different in the South. That's how deep that energy thing is. I'm just like, food I would just barely touch. I remember it was one stopped at this one place, served just regular breakfast type of food, bacon, eggs, sausages and stuff. I couldn't get enough of the food. I was like, I barely touch this stuff up in the North. But the whole energy was different. Like, just even, like with the Southern thing, like the Southern hospitality, that's an energy. When somebody, like you're in an area, everybody's polite and respectful, that's an energy. That's why you have different regions, but and you gather those people in a certain area, boom. And of course, that's the people. That's a combination of the people, their level of spiritual evolution, the culture of the place, the economics of the place, because you can't separate none of these. It's no thing you could just say, hey, like if you get a bunch of millionaires who live in a block radius or something, that's going to be a high energy, because if a lot of issues that happen with people have to do with money. And of course, money itself is energy. Money itself is a currency. In fact, I'm going to do something on that. See, I like doing stuff. I never know what I'm going to do until I say something. Then I'll say something and just do it anyway. I'm going to talk about that. I've talked about that before, but, it's still along the lines of the energy. And plus, everything is holistic. So no matter what you talk about, it's going to relate to something else I've talked about before. But then you've seen it in a different context. So anyway, yeah, cities have different energies. Yeah. There's some deeper stuff I can get into with that, but I'm just like, nah. I don't know if y'all ready to go that deep. It was something that actually happened. That's one of those things you see in a Marvel movie or something based on the city's energy. So anyway, that's all we got for now. Something to think about. Peace and blessings.